Thanks for coming in.
Hey, how you doing?
It's is there a bit of a world of relief that has been lifted off your shoulders?
Not really. In a way, it's disappointment. I went there with a whole set of expectations and have been able to do a lot with this job, but not nearly as much as I want to. I looked at the numbers yesterday. By the time I'm done, we will have helped 6,000 people one at a time with with issues with veterans, immigration, the IRS, Medicare, you name it. And that's been the joy of this job. And in Washington, we've gotten more bills passed. I'll put my record up against anybody because we work with people. But it's not enough. It's like watching two teams at war with one another. I didn't go there with the notion of being a perfect Republican dealing with people who are perfect Democrats. But that's kind of what it is. It's a place full of ideologues. Because of gerrymandering, they get rewarded for moving further and further to the extreme. And, the primary process, the pandering to a very small group of people who are relevant, but whose ideas and ideology shouldn't control the entire agenda. Compromise is how this country was built. And it's how you create peace. When everybody feels as though they're bought into the system, that it represents something about them that they like, you can have a society that works with each other and gets along. But, the idea of being a bad Republican or a bad Democrat is ridiculous. We're all here to be good Americans.
Because you compromise.
Well, we're here to be good Americans and build a country for our kids.
Yeah. Compromise has just become a terrible word right now.
It's silly. And people get rewarded for being obstructionists, for not getting anything done, as if that's somehow to be rewarded. It's not what we want.
There was a story in the Post-Standard yesterday that we were just talking about earlier this morning, and that Assemblywoman Tenney loses a national conservative endorsement, and her response was basically calling them a disgrace. And we're talking about the American Conservative Union, which has endorsed George Phillips. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, and in this story, I know you've read it, so I'll just reiterate a couple of points. They clearly are not big fans of you.
And I'm not. That doesn't bother me in the slightest. Incidentally, it's well known. I have a very good and productive record on the Affordable Health Care Act, fiscally responsible office. We've done all those things. But on social issues, I'm just not in the business of having government. Didn't go there to have government tell you who to love or who to care about or who to marry. And frankly, to the idea of shutting down women's health care, which would increase the number of abortions in this country, I'm against that. And I've been that way since I ran. And
you're seeing that challenged by the states all across the country, especially in the South right now.
Yeah, sure. And it's ideologically driven. It's not built around common sense. It's a belief system that I understand. We all are invested in reducing the number of abortions in this country. That's everybody's goal. But you don't do it by reducing health care and education and contraception. You do it by promoting other things like adoption, if you like, all of that. It's a whole spectrum. But just to say we're going to close our eyes to this issue and defund an organization that, frankly, with the Hyde Amendment, has been around since 1960, I think 74, there is no federal money in that arena. Planned Parenthood is forbidden for using it, and as are other groups. So there is strict separation right now.
Are you surprised that they endorsed, the conservative group here endorsed, the American Conservative Union endorsed George Phillips and not Claudia Tenney?
I'm not at all surprised. I mean, if you look at Claudia's history, the only thing, the NRA isn't going to endorse her either, National Rifle Association. You'd think they would be the logical people, right? They're not endorsing her as far as I know. They certainly haven't yet. And if you look, the conclusion that you can make about her record, and it's not personal at all, is that she's a serial candidate who doesn't do the job when she has it. She's out there, missed 500. I mean, I don't even know how you missed that many votes. How can you look people in the face and say, I want to serve you, I want to work for your community for the betterment of your children and you, and then not show up for work? This job that I have and have had the privilege of trying to make the most out of it is a serious job. It's not meant for people who seem, by all, everything that seems reasonable to me is that it's all about them.
Yeah.
It should never be about me or anybody who has this job. And that's what's wrong with it largely around the country, is that these guys are career politicians, which I believe, Claudia clearly is. You really need to look at it and say, how can I help people? What can I do?
Right. We'll take some calls if people would like, 736-0186. Talk about what you're working on for the rest of the year. And there's a lot, I'm told, that you have. Also, you'll be at Little Learners in Rome to talk about early education.
That's
today?
a passion of mine.
Yeah.
One of the great things about this job is I've learned a lot about pre-K and fallen in love with the subject and the opportunity.
It's a jump start for, hopefully, for kids and their education.
Yeah, you get kids when they're 2 to 5, 3 to 5. And it's a life-changing opportunity, pre-K is. Quality pre-K, not just any pre-K. And what you see is healthcare costs go down, prison, education, they further their education. They just have better lives all the way around. And what it does in the long run is it saves society. The estimates are anywhere from $7 for every dollar you invest to $13 for every dollar you invest. And I'm proud of it. I was the only Republican in the United States endorsed by the National Teachers Association. And when I'm done with this job, I intend to keep pursuing that. I'm not sure how I'll go about it, but it's a great opportunity to help children.
We'll come right back. We'll take Christine Has News, Congressman Richard Hanna, until 9 on WIBX.